Hello. So this video is just going to be my perspective on the way things are going to unfold in the next 5 or so years with artificial intelligence and where I see good investment opportunities, etc. And I try not to provide too many charts or statistics to back up what I'm saying because, people find that boring. So as a content producer or someone who's just putting this out for his own record so I can look back and see where I was wrong, where I was right, this video just serves the purpose of being a summary of what it is that I see from my research. So for those who don't know, what it is GPUs are in high demand for training AI models. So you have some large file that is trained by intensive, expensive GPU work. Those GPUs can cost some money. And they spend millions of dollars to run GPUs to summarize the internet or summarize large data sets to get a specific large file with all the different arrangements, numbers, matrices of data that is trained to be the model, the artificial intelligence model. So, data comes in, large file that is set from spending a lot of money to train the model, which is a large file, and then it has output. So that large file could be something like a couple gigs or whatever, like terabytes. I don't know, like they're roughly a couple terabytes, etc. They say it's like how many parameters, etc. Anyways, so what does this mean for us as investors or people who are looking for how are things going to unfold? So, the reason that NVIDIA, for example, skyrocketed in value, the chip producers skyrocketed in value is because of the world realizing where these AI models are. We're in an AI boom. We're in an AI space race, so to speak, between Google and OpenAI and the other entities that are racing for AI dominance. And I would say OpenAI is in the lead. But the reason things like NVIDIA are skyrocketing, the chip producers, is because of the world realizing where we are in this story. And you need a lot of GPU to train the models. It's a very expensive process. It requires a lot of GPUs, a lot of computing power, a lot of energy to train the model. But once it's done, then you have the model and it's just some large file. And then it's no longer as expensive to run. Some of them are expensive, etc. But the bottom line is it's very chip intensive, GPU intensive, and that is where we are today. Where I see things going in the future is that demand for GPUs is never going to slow down. It's always going to be in high demand. So you want a career, you want an investment that's going to do well. The chip producers, those who are around the innovations in chip production, like NVIDIA's, I think NVIDIA is going to continue to do well. And other companies like AMD. These companies are going to do well, and they're never going to run out of customers. I actually think that what's going to happen is these companies are going to constantly, we're talking 5, 10, 15, 20 years, they're not going to see a slowdown in demand. AI and computing is going to continue to be in high demand. So you want a career that's going to be successful. You want an investment that's going to be successful. You want to invest in or invest your time or energy or money in chip production, in programs, in algorithms, and in efficiency gains in those processes, artificial intelligence, etc. Those are going to be the areas that continue for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years to be in demand. So, a lot of my research is trying to see where is the opportunity in the next 10 years, and it's going to be consistently there. That's what I think is going to be consistent. Even with artificial intelligence reaching a point of surpassing human capability, which is going to happen probably in 3 years, on a computer, on computers in the digital environment, AI models are going to be able to do any thought process that humans do right now, roughly speaking. They'll be able to do any cognitive work, any office work, any art, math modeling. There'll be simulations will get better. They're going to be good at writing simulations, doing those kind of things. That's where I see it. Where it steps outside of the computer is where I see a lot of demand as well. Now, okay, so here's a major problem and where a lot of money is to be made if you want to be successful as an investor or as a career path. I would say in robotics, because right now we have these LLMs and they're going to be perfected. The LLMs, the models that run on computers, the models that use human language, that use videos, that use audio, run digital environments, they're going to be perfected. They have plenty of data to use. So here's the situation. I want to set a frame of reference for you based on the way I see things, based on the research, based on the data. So you have lots of data to train these models, right? You have lots of internet data, which is text, video, auditory, even simulations. Those are all things we have plenty of. And actually the simulations is key, okay? Think about this. So the LLMs are going to be perfect at language. They're going to be perfect at video creation, music, audio, art, because they have plenty of data, right? So what is needed next? What is needed next besides the digital space? So we know that AI has plenty of data available to learn and become as good as humans in the digital realm, but in the real world, it doesn't have any data, hardly any. Now Tesla is gathering lots of data with self-driving cars in the real world. So what I'm saying here, what I'm highlighting here, is in the digital space we have lots of data. In the real world we don't have a lot of data, with the exception of Tesla. Obviously I think Tesla is going to be like one of the leaders because they have real world data that they're constantly gathering with their fleet of vehicles, which is genius. The problem with getting robots and AI to work in the real world is we have very little data to do that. We have tons of data with text, like we have the whole internet for text, video, music. We have all the data we need to perfect that. And what's going to happen is the AI algorithms are going to get better and better and better. And so the amount, like you think about a human baby only needs, some amount of time before they learn the language, before they learn their physical body, before they learn these things, right? Our current AI models take way more information than a human does, and a human is capable of learning more faster than these AI models. But what's going to happen is the algorithms are going to get better, the models are going to get better, the architectures are going to get better, so you need less and less data, right? So it's going to get less and less and less and less and less data to get to the same result. At some point, so this is the way it's going to go. The data that we have in the real world, so AI is going to be perfected in the digital space. That AI perfected in the digital space is going to help us get to the efficiencies needed, help us design future models to get to where the data that we have of the real world will eventually be enough, which we don't have enough right now. So data in the real world going up, like self-driving cars, also simulations. Remember I said one of those things that's needed is simulations. What that means is you're going to make an environment, you make an environment of physics in a digital space. So you put your robot into a physics simulation and you have it run the things you want it to do, and those become the simulations, that becomes the data. So you make up the data, but it's the same quality as the real world. So that's how I believe they're going to fill that gap in generating lots of amounts of data needed to get robots to work in the real world, to be able to fold your laundry, to be able to do your dishes, to clean your house. They're going to have a house simulation with physics, and someone just makes the house with actual physics, like the towel will be close to real physics, this weight, all the stuff. The forks will weigh the same amount, water will have the same physical properties, and it might go down to some whatever accuracy layer that they want. And the robot will operate in that environment, and they'll just run the simulation. And that's how I believe they're going to bridge that gap. But here's what's going to happen. Real world data, not digital data. We know we have enough data in the digital realm. Real world data, where a robot's operating in the real world, controlling bodies and doing things in the real world. That real world data is going to continue to go up and up and up and up. And the amount of data needed to get them to be effective at being valuable, at delivering valuable work, is going to come down and down and down, meaning better models, better models, better models, more and more physical data. Eventually, it has a crossing point where these robotic systems do practical work in the real environment. And so each and every job has that crossover between how much data we need from the real world and the model that needs to intersect to reach the point of usefulness in the real world. Self-driving cars is getting pretty close. Folding your laundry, further down the line. painting a house, further down the line. Eventually, robots will have, if I had a graph, you know, like we would be right here with self-driving cars only because the data is up here. You know, we have enough data from Tesla's fleet. But regarding painting a house, we have hardly any data at all. We have like barely any. And that's the reason why we don't have robots painting your house. That's the reason we don't have robots folding your clothes, because we don't have that real world data. So, narrative. What is going to happen in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years? Right now, in the next 3 years, robots, AI, in the digital space is going to be able to do all cognitive tasks that humans can do. It's going to be able to look just like humans. The movie Her comes to my mind. When you talk to an AI, it's going to act like a human. It's going to have it's going to seem, it won't, I don't know if it really, look, consciousness, that's a thing in its own. I'm not even going to go there. But it will seem conscious. AI is going to wake up in terms of when you have a conversation with it, and it will have the mannerisms, the sounding, the tones in its voice that sound like a living, breathing human. That's probably 2 years away, if that. Already we could see with Sora that we're gonna, in the next less than a year, we're gonna have perfected video. Perfected video, you know, they're gonna throw audio on it. So that's it. Like, you know, like video is gonna be perfected within the next year. And the reason why is because we have enough data to do that. Like there's tons and tons of, you know, like specifically Google has YouTube, which is, you know, the YouTube itself is a gold mine. And eventually they're gonna perfect it, you know, using the endless data that they have from YouTube. So yeah, like that's where I see things unfolding there. But next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, like somehow they're going to find enough, like at some point those cross lines are going to happen between the algorithms becoming better and the fact that we're going to have AI that operates like a human in the digital space. That AI is going to help our scientists, researchers, mathematicians come up with better models because it's going to save them time. It's going to do a lot of the lifting for them, and more human work is going to be handed off to these systems because they'll be able to handle more and more and more. And so the design is going to keep getting better and better. The amount of data needed is going to shrink and shrink and shrink. Better and better models, better and better architectures, and then more and more data from the physical world. Eventually, all these things are going to cross over, and robotics in the real world are going to cross over. So self-driving cars, probably this year, next year, those things are going to cross over. So if you want a career path that's going to be effective, if you want an investment path that's going to be effective, I think a gold mine is robotics. You know, because it's going to be maturing. Like AI, look, I called AI early. You can look back in my videos and see that I called this AI stuff way early, way before any of this stuff was really happening. When Stable Diffusion was still releasing muggy looking pictures, I knew that I saw the progress and I saw what was happening. Well, what is a good investment opportunity right now is robotics, because that's going to be maturing. The real world work is going to be maturing. Look, everybody already saw the NVIDIA. NVIDIA's already, like, NVIDIA's going to continue to do well. I believe that. Anyone producing chips, AMD, anyone producing chips, Intel, etc. Anyone along the chip production line is going to do well, in my opinion. But who is going to get that? You want to capture that huge amount of exponential increase before it reaches the tapering down. I believe that NVIDIA is still in the exponential, but it's kind of like right in the middle of the S curve. A lot of the gains have already happened on NVIDIA, right? A lot of the gains have already happened with the chip producers. But where do you want to put your money in startups and entities that, if you can, remember, it's an unfair system. They don't let you invest in startups because, we don't live in a free society. But once again, I'm not going to go down that direction. But where do you want to put your investments? Robotics. That's going to be maturing in 2 years. So what you want to do is find companies that help the real world robotics happen. And that's going to happen over the next decade. And that means as a career path, it's a great choice because it's stable income. You will make a lot of money as a career path if you go into robotics, if you go into the software that helps robotics, if you go into anything that helps shrink the model to make it more effective with less data, because that's what robotics needs. Anything that is along the robotics path, helping the robot perceive the world, right? So robotics, engineering, software along the lines of AI models, so AI architecture, AI models, robotics, like the physical parts of robotics, sensors, engineering. So all of those things I see as being career paths that are at least stable for the next, 5, 10, 15 years, because that's how long it's going to take time to roll out these things. And so I believe that's the demand for that is going to be unbounded. And that's what we're already seeing. And as an investment strategy, that's where you want to look as well, like Figure AI, Tesla. Once again, Tesla is right there with the Optimus bot. Anyone else involved in robotics, like I believe Tesla and Figure and anyone else building humanoid bots or building bots that operate in the real world, they're going to see massive influx of customer demand as their products reach usefulness. When they reach usefulness, the demand will not stop. It will be NVIDIA times 10, times 100 from here. So what you want right now is to buy robotics stocks. Anything along the path of data from the real world, sensor companies, right? If you know of a company that has sensors that it sells to robotics, perceiving the real world, turning the real world data into useful data for robotics. So anyone along that path is where I would see lots of opportunity from a career path, from an investment path. And that's where you need to look for that 100x opportunity over the next 10 years is anyone in the robotics path. Robotics is going to mature and it's going to have the NVIDIA type takeoff, like the 10x, the 20x. And, but it's going to happen over like 10 years. But that's what I see as being the next technology that is maturing is converting data from the real world into useful instructions for the robots, and the robots providing useful work in the real world. All right, so that's just my thoughts on it. Like I've been researching these topics for a while, like what's the next thing to mature? That's something that always comes to my mind. What is the next thing to mature? I believe that the robotics industry will take off 2 years from now. That's when you really will start seeing it take off. Is about 2 years. AI, specifically the thing that's going to be hitting first is self-driving cars, only because they have the data. That is actually a harder task than the other things like folding, other home tasks are actually easier in my opinion because it's not controlling something that could kill people. But the reason self-driving cars will mature first is because they have that large data set. But I could be wrong, right? Because there might be regulation in the way of that. Regulation because it's dangerous, right? So anything that has potential danger will be held up by regulation. But that's the narrative that I see. That's the maturing. That's the 100x opportunity that I think is going to be quite reliable here coming up. All right, later.